Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is a podcast where we speak to clowns and comedians from across the comedy world. Now, today's theme of the night is we're going to be clowning around with a good friend of mine on the London circuit, Marny Godden.
Hello.
And hello, Marny. Thanks for coming on the podcast. And for
Thank you
anyone
for
that,
having me.
as always, we're going to do a nice little cheer to this. Cheers, cheers.
What's that?
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Never
Pretending
mind.
to cheers. Hmm.
But for anyone that doesn't know about you and tell us a little short summary of who you are and what leads you to be with us today.
Okay, I am Marny Godden and I come from and live in still Greenwich in London. So I'm a Londoner who lives in Southeast London. I grew up in quite an arty family. My mum's an artist and my dad an antique dealer and had done many, many jobs. They're both quite interesting character, like they're oddball type people, and so I brought up in quite an arty home. Um, so I was encouraged to perform and encouraged to make them laugh, and we watched a lot of films growing up, and I've got an older brother, and we used to kind of mimic all the films and play make believe a lot. So I've always kind of like been performing, and I then performed at, primary school, and secondary school, and then I went on to go to drama school. But I can do art as well. My mum's an artist, so I went to art school for a year or so. So I'm quite arty. And then and then I left drama school and I kind of went into acting, but nothing much was happening. So I decided to kind of like take all my power back and start to cast myself in stuff that I'd written. And so that's when I got into comedy, really, was when I kind of took full control myself and started to write stories with narrative and, with lots of colourful characters, and applied for Edinburgh 2008. And then I did many Edinburghs, producing and performing and writing comedy. And now where I'm at the moment is I'm still performing kind of character comedy. I'm kind of creating formats. I'd like to get more into filming stuff. Um, but I've recently done another Edinburgh, and I'm always developing comedy. I'm always developing something for myself, and I'm starting to go back to a character that I've created in the past called One Tooth. And I'm going to be performing One Tooth at Leicester as a
Ah,
work in progress show. So yeah, that's it really. That's who I am. I write and perform comic characters.
and what is it that led you to the world of clowning?
So I didn't really know it, but the kind of comedy that I was creating was kind of part in the world of clowning, because I was kind of look clowning is you have a good relationship with your audience, and you allow the audience to guide you a bit in what they find is funny. You do more of what they find is funny, and you follow your intuitive nature and flow, and I was already kind of doing that a little bit. And I was in a show in 2012 called Twisted Folk with somebody who wrote it called Tom Cottle. And I don't know whether you know him, Dan Lees. You do know Dan Lees. Yeah, I'm sure you know
Amazing.
Dan Lees. And we're performing that at Edinburgh. And that was the same year that Dr. Brown, Phil Burgers, won an award with his clown show. And quite a few of us who were up that year, then when we got back to London in the November, we took his clowning course at Soho Theatre. And that was when I started to take a deeper dive into what clowning was. And yeah, and I think if you like it, you can really get bitten by the bug of it and the philosophy of it and how it works and just wanting to get up and do it. And that's what I did. I just started to do it. I started to come from a more clowning perspective and feed it into what I was performing a lot more. And it helped. Um, really it was that experience back then
Okay.
that got me into it.
And let me know if this is okay or not, but um, so you've done a few clowning courses and all that, and there's quite a few clown teachers in the UK and other parts of the world, but what would you say that you've gained from the different clown courses that you've done, and how have they shaped you as a performer?
Well, that very first clown course back in 2012 was almost like when they say that horses, what do they say about horses when they train them and it kind of breaks them, not breaking them. I can't remember what the term is. I'm probably going down the wrong description here, but I learned from that first experience because the clowning teacher wasn't was quite like straight. So basically wouldn't let me get away with doing anything other than being completely authentically in the moment, and allowing something to come through that I hadn't planned. I wasn't allowed off the hook. I could only do that. So the first few days I really struggled because it was very uncomfortable because everything I was trying was coming from things that I'd done before that I thought were funny, and things that I was thinking through and then trying, and none of it was working, and it was really, really uncomfortable. And then I think by the third day, I was like, I don't want to go in tomorrow. This is really painful. Um, I'm really struggling. I can't relax. I can't, I feel very tense, and nothing I'm trying is working. And all my plan, everything anyway. So on the fourth day, I had a breakthrough, and I started to make people laugh. And something starts, there was a tipping point, and suddenly it was like, boom, oh, I get it. And it's hard to describe. And I know you've done some clowning, so you could probably describe it, but it was just a moment, a shift happened, a real big shift happened. And really it was probably just about I was so desperate to get away from that place of feeling so uncomfortable, and that something in my body just allowed me to shift, and I had no choice. It was like a dam breaking. Anyway, it was quite a big transition. And then by the last day, I had everyone in stitches of laughter, and it was like, wow, like freedom. And I feel magical. I feel free. I feel like all the colors and everything just flowing through and being created all at once. It's hard to describe, but it was an amazing feeling. And then I was just like, wow, that was great. Um, what it did for me, that experience was, um, it just made me see that you can't plan. You can't plan clowning. Um, you can create an act, but you really have to be present, and you really have to have the confidence to take risks, and you really have to be vulnerable and open your heart and come from this space rather than this space, not your thoughts, coming from an energy, being the energy, and the optimism, and maintaining that, and wanting to be there, being present and wanting to be there. And what was the question? Like, go back over the question because I feel like I'm just rambling now.
But you went more into what, so the question was,
Yeah.
what have you learned from the different clown teachers you studied at
Right. So
and how
that's
they
so
shaped you.
sorry. Yeah.
But
So
you went into that was interesting what you said that you went into how what was the big moment for you in clowning. But that was also interesting as well.
that first experience was hardcore. Like if I compare it to my clowning experiences that I've had since then, that was the most hardcore of all. And I think it was because my clowning teacher at the time, he did not have he wasn't being like, let's have a gentle landing. Let's take you through this softly. He was like, that shit, get off. That shit, get off. What are you doing? That is crap. Get off. And I had that repetitively. And then it was like something shifted. I don't know whether I prayed or I was like, please let something change. And I was so desperate, but like suddenly something shifted and I had freedom and I had this freedom of flow. And that was a really painful experience. But once I'd gone through it, because I kept coming back, and my something shifted. I found freedom. I found freedom of flow, and that was my first experience. So what I got from that was just I don't know, just like maybe I needed a bit. I needed it hardcore to like to be set free. Um, And then when I did clowning next with Mick Barnfather, his teaching style was completely different. Um, and I really enjoyed his teaching style because I had already kind of learned how to be present and to be free. Um, but this was much more kind of like clowning exercises, and it was step by step. And he encouraged me as well, but it wasn't as intense. But I'd learned how to be free, so I could start to tame it and craft it a bit more with Mick, and develop more of a relationship with the audience. Start practicing the tool of I'm trying something from my instinct. I'm having an instinct, I'm trying it, an impulse, I'm trying it, and now I'm checking to see if it worked. And then I'm going to try something new and I'm going to check to see if it worked. And like just slow the process down a bit and learn how to take it step by step. Um, yeah, so that was Phil Berger's Mick Barnfather, and all the while I'm practicing these in comedy on the circuit and in my Edinburgh shows. So I'm using these techniques when I can, as a comedian. So that helps as well, that you're putting them into practice. Um, the only other people I've trained with are I've done Dan Lee's course a few times, and Dan and I are really, really close because we've known each other for years and we're friends. But I really, really love his course because I know he knows that I can do it and that I'm funny. So, but he doesn't kind of like just kind of let me get away with it either. He'll kind of pull me up on things and say, you should go further, and he knows I can do it. So it's quite handy to have him as an outside eye. And he's got creates a really nice relaxed space, a relaxing space. Like you just feel kind of like it's really there's it's it's not it's really informal, but because he's such an experienced clown, and he's got such a good eye and a sense for what's funny, and you know that he'll guide you in the right direction, and you feel safe in his hands. Um, so yeah, those there's I mean, specifically, clowning has given me a lot of confidence, as a performer, because I've learned how to be present on stage and to not be afraid of an audience and to allow myself to take risks. So that is incredible. Like those tools have given me and continue to give me so much as a performer. Like I highly recommend it to stand-ups, actors, any kind of performer, um, to learn that, there's an energy in the room and you're part of that energy, and you can bring good energy or you can bring bad energy, or you can be completely disconnected from it and not be conscious of it. But if you're conscious of it and you consciously decide to turn up with good energy, and you know how to you know encourage good energy as a performer in the room, then you're more likely to have the audience on your side, and to build a really good vibe in the room. There's so many reasons why clowning is has helped me and would help other people.
The biggest thing about it, I think, is that it gets you. The big thing about the training of it is that you may have an idea. This is what I got out of clowning. Whenever I do something on stage, I have a plan, but I'll be very loose, and like I'll play, and I'll be very observant to what the audience wants. If I'm playing a game and doing something, I ride a wave, and I see what happens. And if you know what, if my idea gets nothing but they're laughing at this bit, I'm fucking going in with this bit, and I'll keep going on with this bit. And I'll
Yeah.
give an example of that. Um, so I run a heckle gig in London, and a couple of days ago I was doing a gig and I did it dressed as Zorro. And there was a really stupid game that was going up throughout the nine called Clench and Drop. Do you know what that is?
No.
So people were putting candy canes in their bum and then they were dropping it
Oh
into a
my
glass.
God.
No, not literally, just like with the clothes on and all that, but they were doing that. And that
Right.
happened a couple of times. And I went on the Zorro, said, hello, senor. And so Louis did a bit. And I noticed for whatever reason, I was going through my set, and then I just thought I'd play around and just call someone up and do the clench and drop thing. That got laughs, big laughs, than anything else I did. So I did like 3 or 4 times in about 8 minutes of just calling people up on stage playing clench and drop. And that,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great. So you had the confidence and the ability to see that, to not allow your nerves or your act to just kind of take you on autopilot, but to be present with the audience, see an opportunity, which is they're finding that funny, that specific thing funny. Right, I'm going to do more of that. And and then look how long you did it for. It's just like, that's brilliant.
and the other thing that I do with that, when I look at that, I was thinking, I'm excited to see what happens with this. I see it as a bit of a, like in a movie scene or something, you see something interesting happen, and I'm excited.
Mm.
It may not do well, but I'm excited to see what happens with this.
If you're engaged as the performer, it's more likely that the audience will be engaged with you, because you are excited, you are engaged. I want to do this. And that's another clowning thing is, you should be excited to be here. You're ready to play the game. What's the game? Let's play the game. Well, you just experienced that. It's like the game is we're going to play clinch and drop, and that's the game. And I feel excited, and therefore they're mirroring that back to me. And then to have the confidence to go, or to have the awareness, then for you to have the awareness also to know when to stop that game and move on to a different game.
That is a bit I sometimes struggle with, but I think
Why do you think that? I mean, why do you think you struggle with that bit?
so. I think so I did it 3 or 4 times. The third time it went really well. No,
Mm.
sorry, I think I did it too many times, and I wasn't sharp enough to see maybe there was a change. It went okay, but it should have gone on a bit. It should have stopped a bit sooner, and I should have tried something else to
So
get a bigger
how,
laugh.
what were the signs that you'd gone on a bit too long?
So there, it reached a really big high, and I just saw that the laugh wasn't as big,
Right.
and they weren't as excited by it. But I know that there's a like with I interviewed another clown on a podcast called Barnaby King, and I, the thing that really like Vigo Venn, he's done a lot for the clowning industry, and the thing that I found really amazing was there's the Comedy Store Gong Show, and it's very famous. A lot of the times when you do a gong show, especially in London, it's quick one-liners that get you through. And I was quite amazed to see that he got through it, just doing the dance thing that you see in Britain's Got Talent. And Barney
Yeah.
King was able to break it down, and he does this little stupid dance thing, and he gets big laughs, but it's like a repetition thing. And there's a girl called Holly Stoppett who believes not only the rule of 50 or something in terms of repeating it. If you keep repeating it,
Right.
it gets funnier and funnier.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I think
And
that's true.
but when it doesn't get a laugh, as you said with the game, you do something else. And that's what Vigo Ven did when he was doing the Gong Show. There will be bits where he did something else, but when he sensed that the game wasn't going, he went back to that bit where it would get a bigger
The
laugh.
callback. That's the callback.
Ah, yes, yes. And then it got bigger and bigger. And then
Yeah.
that's, but he put a little bits in between. So the one that he wouldn't get bored, but he knew it'd work if he go back to it. But yeah, he told me that rule and that's how it worked. And
Hmm.
that sort of stood in my mind. And that's what I was going with that game with the clench and drop thing. But I wasn't as in tune with it as I could have been. What I could have done is I could have done something else in between it. I then got back to the clench and drop and it would have got bigger.
Yeah,
That's what I should have
exactly.
done. Yes, that's what I should
Yeah.
have done.
Yeah, that is like something you practice in a clown workshop is, and you can practice on stage. And next time when you do it, you can practice that on stage, not necessarily the clinch and drop, but whatever game you're playing. I can't believe you're playing that game, the name of the game, clinch and drop. Um, but it's like, yeah, exactly. That's it. It's like you're going, like, let me think of a funny game to play with the audience. Because as soon as, if the audience are in on the game, then they start to laugh. They know where they're at because you're like, all we're doing is this game. And then they're like, oh, we're bored of that now. And you know that because the laughing slows down and to a stop. But like if you can catch it where the laughter kind of like you said, there was a heightened bit of laughter, and then it's like, great, this would be a good place to like move on to something else because I can feel the dip, like, and but anyway, so then it's like, okay, let me try something new. And then they might laugh at that, whatever. And then you do the callback to the clinch and drop. And it's like, it's just so ridiculous that they've come back to that, but it's a familiar game. So you're engaging together in it's a group thing. It's like a thing. It's hard to explain why the callback works. I think it's a rhythmic thing as well. I
Okay.
think it's about finding these rhythms with the audience and
Yeah.
playing with them. And it's so simple as well.
Yeah. The the thing that I found
You can't be too self-indulgent. That's the thing. If you're too much in your own world and too much in your own head and not enough with watching the audience as your guide. So the clown is looking to the audience to see what they want. They're glued to the audience. Like, are they still enjoying it? And but if you're too much in your head, how can you follow their guidance? That's why the clown is always watching and listening like that, like a hawk.
that is also a good sign of a good comic as well. Like it's you have to be really aware of everything that's going on in the audience. It's about yes, it's about them. It's not
Heightened
about you.
awareness.
Um, what's the other thing we are getting at? Yeah, it was. I think that's the biggest thing about clowning. That's what it's good for. It gets you out of your own bullshit and
Yeah,
to do what's in the moment.
I think you're right. Um, you can really be stuck in your own head and be self-indulgent, and it's really about being you can't be self-indulgent and stuck in your head if you are present and here and now and feeling into the energy in the room and like hearing and seeing and sensing and all that sensitivity. um, and heightened awareness, creating a heightened awareness. Um, but it helps, it does help if you have a funny energy and a funny brain and a funny bones. It helps a lot,
Yeah,
you know, if that's kind of naturally who you are and you're always having funny thoughts and you're always having funny ideas and you know you feel you're kind of naturally an optimistic person. You know, that does help you along. And I think you can kind of encourage yourself to be more of those things if you practice it regularly and you stay in that kind of optimistic present, you know. But if you're very in your head naturally as a person, I'd either encourage you to do clowning more or just maybe it's not for you. I don't know. I think it must be quite frustrating for people who spend a lot of time in their head. I've seen people in clown workshops really find it hard to just relax, to just relax.
yeah.
They're so uptight.
What do you what do you
Because
think?
maybe it's a need to control. Maybe people who are more controlling find it harder. I'm not sure. You know, I need to know what's going to happen next. Well, you don't. You don't. You don't know what's going to happen next. None of us know what's going to happen next. In that case, I'm going to plan what's going to happen next. You can't. You can't plan it. You can have a plan, but don't expect the audience to necessarily find it funny or for the plan to work. And don't call it clowning if you're stepping through a plan and no one's laughing, because clowning is making people laugh as much as you can. So and the tool is to follow what they want you to do and not what you've planned.
Yeah,
And if that's not working, what you've planned, then you need to try and you have to have the guts to bring something from nothing.
I think one of the reasons why I got into clowning and the things that why I do a lot of in my set anyway is that I do have a plan on my stuff, but I'm terrible at being very rigid and sticking to the plan. And I just like to have fun. I'm quite loose as a person, especially on stage. That's why I do a lot of the stuff I do. And I think yeah, but I think
That's great though, because that means that it sounds like you're a natural at being free to follow anything could happen. I quite like that. I'm quite comfortable in that scenario. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I'm not good at well, if I think too much, I will get very tense and very all over the place. Sometimes when I'm in something where I'm thinking too much, I get very tense and I get stuck. And also, I feel that
Yeah.
when you're on stage, there's a bit of pressure on there. You're in the moment, so you haven't got time or different things to think too much. Sometimes things can get, especially in comedy, it's quite can be a difficult thing. It's a bit of a survival thing. You got to think of like you're in there and you don't always have time to think of the 50 different things that got to be right. You just got to be aware, look what's going on, and just go with your instincts. And I think
Yeah.
what you're saying there, let me know what your thoughts on it, but it links to a lot of things. I found myself as well, and this is also in life with other things, when I focus too much just on getting the result rather than, because you can't control that. You can only control what you do and like how you react to it. You need to think. So when I did that thing that did quite well, I was thinking of what's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen, and I'm going to do that. You can't control that. So the only battle you can win is what you do. And if you focus on what action you do to get where you want to go, then you've achieved something. Because getting the, yeah, with everything that I want in comedy and life, a lot of people want those fucking things. So you can only focus on the little things that you're doing to get there. And if you're doing something that you enjoy or you're excited to do, that's what you can control. And if you can improve in a little metric, that you can do.
Yeah. I think that's really wise thoughts that you're having, and because yeah, I think you can be really hard on yourself, being a creator of comedy. It's like, and it's like, don't it try. I've been really hard on myself. I don't know about you, but like I know that I've been really hard on myself, and I think one of the reasons why that first clowning experience was so miserable and uncomfortable for me was because I had a high standard. I was like, I want to be funny. I need to be funny. And like and then when I wasn't having the results, my internal punishment was like extreme. But time and experience allows you to be kinder to yourself. That's what you hope for everyone, really, is like you don't want to just get mean. You don't want to be mean to yourself because you don't have control. So, but if you can change, like you say, little bits as you go along, then after, instead of being so extreme on yourself, then yeah, like, you will take your time to build something that you love. That's so important. What you've just said is like, I I like this. It excites me. I want to be here and I want to do it. I mean, yeah, that's a starting point, and I'm going to make small changes, and I'm not going to be too hard on myself when they don't work. Like if they don't work, they don't work, and you try something else. And again, that's another clowning thing. When you get up there in the session, and you have an impulse, and you check in with the audience, and no one's really laughing, okay, so what? The world didn't explode. What? Try something else. Try something else. There's a million trillion things you could allow to come through. Um, but you can see people really punish themselves. Um, if oh wow, I'm not making anyone laugh. So who cares? Try something new.
I think one of the things with comedians I've noticed and with
Yeah,
stand-up, the thing being on stage and interacting with a crowd is fun. I've always enjoyed it and it's a fun thing to do.
yeah,
There's a there's an element of people that get into stand-up and maybe in clowning who see the comedy world as a stepping stone to other things rather than and they focus too much on just getting the result rather than actually
interesting.
enjoying the actual thing. Because getting on
Process.
stage and having a
Yeah,
laugh with people, joking around is the best thing in the world.
yeah,
And just yeah, if you're not doing what you're doing, bloody do something else. But yeah, with the comedy thing, I think just focus on the audience that are at hand and how can you have a laugh with them and at least do something fun. Okay, you may have a bad time, but you can't control the result. You can only control the processes you do to get the result.
yeah. That's true. I think that's wisdom. It's like it's the process. Once you get the result, whatever the result may be, say it's an award, or say it's the recognition from someone you wanted to get recognition, say it's a TV deal, whatever, money, um, acknowledgement of some kind. It's like, well, then you're on to the next thing. That doesn't give you any sustenance really. Like it kind of it's like, okay, great, I've made progress. It's a sign of progress. That's good. A result is a sign of progress. But most of your life is the process in getting to that point, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
the kind of that journey. And so there's wisdom in what you're saying, because why not make that enjoyable? And because we're in a job where you can make that enjoyable. If you enjoy the energy between you and an audience and it's something that you get pleasure from, and or you find ways of getting more pleasure from it, you make that one of your objectives. How can I make this more pleasurable for myself? How can I make this more enjoyable for myself? For me personally, one way that I've made it more enjoyable for myself is just by being less hard on myself, like I was saying to you before. So it doesn't mean I have to drop my standards and lower the bar. Like I want to do my best, but if failures happen and if I don't get the outcome that I was hoping for, it's like, okay, you've got another chance. You did what you could, and that was good. that's good enough. Um, you have another chance, and so I now enjoy myself a lot more because I don't punish myself as much,
And
and I'm
I've,
present. I engage with the moment. It's like, for example, if you're talking to someone, you're listening to them. Like, how much of you is listening to them when they're talking to you? Are you fully present? Are you like taking their whole like spirit in? Are you like listening, present, looking at them, focused on them? You have awareness of other things happening. Or are you half in your head, half looking over their shoulder, and then only a little bit listening to them? Like that's quite an interesting observation because sometimes you can be on stage and you're not even really that present. You're not even really that conscious. You're just on autopilot. But if you encourage yourself to be fully with what you're doing, fully present, fully with the audience, fully with the energy of what you're doing and the energy around you, how can you not enjoy yourself? Like it's an enriching experience. You're present. There's nothing else like here than the present moment. Like there's magic in the present moment.
yeah,
And there's nowhere else you should be. There's nowhere better.
okay.
Every experience could be like that. Do you get what I'm saying, or am I kind of sounding crazy here?
The point you're getting at, and the simple thing you're saying is be in the moment. But when you're in the moment, there's so many things to consider when you're performing, rather than being autopilot. There's loads of yeah. There's gifts everywhere. If you look at a crowd of about 10 or 20 people, and there's objects there, you could look at, I don't know, some a husband's annoyed at a wife or something and giving a funny look. You could play with that or something. Or
I mean,
if you,
I'm
yeah,
just, I'm just saying that if you're fully present, and you can test this out by just being with one other person and noticing, am I fully present with this person, or am I kind of lost in my thoughts or daydreaming and looking away? Am I on autopilot, or am I kind of
ah,
not very conscious? So if you're conscious and you're present and you're fully here on stage, there's no other magic than that. That's a very magical experience. It's like when you're listening to incredible music live, and you're experiencing it with the other people. Like my example of that was I was lucky enough to go to a Kate Bush concert back in 2014, and she's so incredible as an artist. She's so unique, and her musicians that she brings with her are incredible musicians. Um, they're so engaged in what they're doing and the magic of what they're doing that meant that the experience for the audience was full engagement. And she encouraged everyone not to have their phones. So you couldn't be kind of like half on your phone, half taking videos or photos. So I just remember I felt fully present from the moment she stepped on stage until the moment she left. And that's to do with their presence and this collective feeling of presence. So I think clowning is all about being here, right here now, and in the magic of that. And there's to me that's enjoyable. Um, and if you get to do that, then it doesn't really matter what the result is. It doesn't really matter whether you get an award or whether you get money, even though those things are signs of progress, and I think they can be celebrated and brilliant things to have. But just being here in this moment is so enjoyable.
yeah. Now, with anyone that's sort of listening now, And with what is it, and let me know your thoughts. What is it that you aim to do with your course to help people to achieve that?
So I aim to create the way that I do it, which is different to the styles of people I've worked with. But what I've learned from doing quite a few courses now is that my style is to create a very supportive atmosphere, a warm atmosphere, a uh, a lovely vibe of kind of brother and sisterhood vibe, like a kind of we're I like people to feel at ease and to feel like it's okay if you fail and make a mistake. If you're not making people laugh, it's okay because everyone's everyone's, supporting each other. Um, and within that atmosphere, um, I really encourage people to take risks and to come out of their comfort zones and to go further than they have been ever before. And then if I feel that they are doing that, I encourage them to go even further. Um, and I'm just now learning how to be a bit more kind of forceful, not in a mean way, but just you know to give people a bit more of a shove in the right direction. So out of their mind and into their body, and from their body, allow what wants to happen happen. And none of us know what that is, but to you know have the confidence to allow that to come through and not be afraid of the consequences. Um, so really a lot of work on impulse work, but within a very supportive atmosphere.
Mm.
So it's not really my style to say to kind of be quite cold and blunt. I do it with the energy of it sounds corny, but I do it with an energy of love. And the feedback that I'm getting is that works, that helps. Because people are terrified. Quite a few people that I meet, they're scared of looking ugly. They're scared of looking weird, and they're scared of the power that they have, that they don't even know what that could be like. Some people are scared of being loud. Some people are scared of just, allowing their full energy to come out. And so they need to be coaxed and kind of draw that you need to be encouraged and but to feel that they're in a loving space to be able to do that. It's not all hippy dippy. It's not like I'm kind of doing some kind of I don't know what that sounds like. It's still very keeping it in that, are you making us laugh? Okay, try something new. Stay with us. You're going into your own head, be with us. Right, okay, take a risk. Go further, take it further. Set yourself free. Be free. And then once people have kind of seen that they're able to be that free and that they are a vessel and that they can express themselves in a whole range of ways that they maybe thought they couldn't before, and they have that freedom, then they can start building a routine and building from that place, from that foundation, then they can start kind of, well, what do I want to do with this vehicle?
Mm.
Where do I want to take it? But a lot of people are playing it safe, and they're afraid of the consequences. And it's like I try and say to them, you've got to get over that.
Yeah. And in a workshop, you've not really got anything to lose because there's not hundreds of people who have paid thousands of pounds to watch you perform. you're in it, you're testing stuff out.
Exactly. And that is another thing that I say. I remind them that, this is a really healthy, great place to try stuff and to test yourself, because it's everyone's in it together, and it's a supportive atmosphere. And so far, I've attracted really lovely people
Mm.
who it feels like just want to be in a room, in a space where they're safe to express themselves, and they don't have to then take it out on the stage. Some people don't even, they're not even comedians, they just want to be able to, a safe space to express themselves. And people want to see each other go through breakthroughs. they it's a really enjoyable thing to see someone go from quite shy, quite small, little me mentality to, a robust freedom of, expression, healthy kind of range of expressions. As a performer, don't you want to know what you're capable of? And as a human being as well, like, it makes me sad to think that people are really stuck in their heads all the time, or you know, they're stiff. And we all get stiff and we all get stuck and we all can overthink. And this, in my course, I encourage people to shake off the outside world, like shake off the identity, the stories we tell ourselves about our limitations, and see, just come from a more heart space, like come from a more kind of freedom of play space. Um, Very similar to how we were when we were kids.
Yeah. And it is playing, clowning. It is playing. It's play a lot of the time.
Playtime. It's playtime. Yeah.
And where do you have your most fun when you're a kid? When you don't have all those worries.
When you're not trying to be clever. You're not trying to be clever when you play with your friend in your bedroom, or when you play in the playground. You're just allowing yourself to have the most fun you can possibly have for as long as you possibly can have it. And, you know, go, going into your imagination world of like freedom, in that space of your imagination, you can be anything you want to be, and anything's possible. And it's pleasurable, it's enjoyable, and you naturally move towards, and deeper into this magical, playful uh, space of just and it's very simple. It's simplicity, really, because you're engaging with it as you go. You're not plotting it out, thinking in a clever way, and then this happens and that happens. You're just going with it as it happens. And so it's freedom from the mind, and it's freedom from um, stories of this world, because it's, you don't know what's coming next, and that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Um, be free to play. When you're a kid and you run into a garden and you climb a tree, and then there's a shed, and you go inside the shed and you pretend that the shed's a castle, and then when you go up the tree you pretend other things, and then you're like digging in the mud, and you're like, it's all kind of like so exciting and everything. And it's just, we're just coming back to that freedom again of
Now we've reached the point here. No, honestly, that was that is powerful stuff, guys. Um, and
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
any
what to
of it
say,
will make sense, to be honest.
but I know what you're saying, and the point is you're saying that, um, yeah. You create a very warm and welcoming environment that helps people get out of their heads, uh, focusing on what's at hand and having fun. And how when you're in that state, don't worry about getting a big laugh or anything like that. If you're in the right state of mind, you got nothing to lose. And a lot of the times when you're in that state of mind, good things will come on stage in comedy. And it's a bit like when you're scared of losing someone, or if you're in these all these emotions about um I don't know, like when you're in a job interview, when you get too tensed up and worrying about how you come across, how you're gonna do, you don't. Whilst if you're relaxed and you're like, listen, I'm gonna do my best, I'm gonna prepare, and I'll be prepared. Whatever happens, happens. I've done my best. You let it go. You try and enjoy the experience of like, what am I going to learn from it that I can apply from next time? You go in that attitude, you
Yeah,
do a lot better.
yeah,
But if you go in with this in your head, as you say, limitations, you've done your best, see what happens, and you create that kind of environment where you allow those things to happen without any judgment,
yeah.
especially on stage, good things will come.
I think so. And it's like put the ego down. Ego helps to a certain extent. It gets us like, on the stage and everything. And, you need a bit of ego. But in the clown workshop, not be thinking about, oh, that will be embarrassing. And what if they think I'm like that? And oh, I won't be very attractive if I do this. And if I really let myself express myself, what if I start swearing? Or what if I say something and everyone's like, you weirdo? And it's like that's all ego chat that you need to step away from and just allow this vessel to be free to make the noises and make the moves that it wants to make. And you'll find those games that the audience find funny, but they will find you funny because they'll see how present you are and how free you are and how excited and in the moment, present moment you are. The audience love that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
how can you bring that into actual performance? It's just that I would keep doing getting comfortable with being in your own body and finding your range, and you can do that just by going to clown workshops again and again and again, and then you just get more and more familiar with your own body and comfortable in your own body.
and for anyone that's listening right now, what? No, I think we've said, yeah. I think there's anything more to say. There's plenty of things that you've given that say a
But if
lot
there's
about.
anything specifically like that you feel like I haven't made clear, if there's anything that's unclear, let me know.
I think for anyone that's listening right now and they're thinking about doing clowning, you've already said it, but I'll ask this question again. Why should they do a clowning workshop
I think
if you're stand up?
I think everyone who's living in this fucked up, weird situation of a world right now where there's so much of your attention is being pulled in so many directions all of the time. And there's so much division and so much attachment to identity, and then therefore division through identity as well. Um, and this isn't everyone's experience, but I'm saying there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of kind of heightened, things going on and world stories going on. For me, getting into a clown workshop, whatever job you do and whoever you are, is an opportunity to reconnect with the essence of who you are as a human being. And we are at odds with ourselves as human beings. Like that's just we're part, we're like black and white. We had this battle inside us already, but to be in a group of people and to be present with each other and to connect with each other in this way, in a supportive environment, and being able to express yourselves and make each other laugh and share the laughter together is such an incredible way to decalcify your brain. If you're feeling stuck, or if you're feeling too in your own heads and in your own thoughts, or if you're feeling too in your ego and kind of like, or maybe you're living too much in the future or too much in the past. Maybe you've been through heartbreak. Like one time when I did a clown course, one of Mick Barnfather's, I'd just come out, I was so heartbroken, and I had this course booked, and it was the best thing that I could have done, because it put me in a space with loads of people I didn't know, um, and they all have their shit going on in their lives, and none of them know about me or my stuff, and it took me out of my own wallowing, my own self-pity, and it made me practice being with other human beings, sharing a space, making each other laugh, the simplicity of that, the community of that. I think it's really, really healthy. And I hope to do clown workshops myself, to take clown workshops throughout my life for as long as I can, for that reason. Because we live in separate places, and we live quite in our own heads. And this world isn't built to support community and play and freedom of expression and uniqueness. It doesn't really support that. But the clown workshop does. So I'd say it's a really, really good way of just connecting with human beings and being and practicing being free and being connected and present, and all of these brilliant tools which you can put into your life. You come out of a clown course, you feed that energy into your life. It means you can connect with people in other things as well, just walking down the street or in a job interview, like you say. I think it teaches you and encourages those healthy ways of communicating with each other.
Yeah. And for anyone that's listening right now, how do they find out about you, and what would you like to plug on the podcast?
Okay, so you can basically go on my Instagram, which is Marny, Marny Godden, Godden comedy. And on my Instagram, I post my clown workshops. So you can follow me on that. And what was the second bit?
Um,
Oh, that's, yeah. So basically, I do a clown course called Find What Makes You Funny Through the Power of Clowning. And I am currently doing it in Deptford, Albany, which is a really, really good space. They have a library as well. And so I'm either doing a workshop in the main theatre or a workshop in the library, which is nearby the main theatre. So Deptford Lounge. And I'm doing a I'm doing a Wednesday night course. I might not have got that right, but it's every Wednesday night for 5 weeks, starting on January the 6th. And that's starting on this month, January, sorry, after Christmas. And I'm doing a one-off day event on the 18th of January at the Deptford Lounge as well. And you can find these details on my Instagram.
okay,
Marny
guys,
Godden.
I hope you've enjoyed Marnie. I will plug the links on the episode description. Hope you've enjoyed it. The next, make sure you give this episode a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast: Amazon, iTunes, Spotify. And the next guest that we're going to have on is a friend of mine from who did Goliath with me the second time I went there, Krista Commodore, and we're going to talk about all things clown. We're going to talk about how clowns compare with comedians, and some juicy gossip and goss about the negatives and positives of being at Goliath. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon.